Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about two Nick Cutter books. A horror double bill. I will be reviewing both The Troop and The Deep. Now, I haven't read any Nick Cutter books before, but I have heard very good things. I believe he has only written 3 books under the pseudonym Nick Cutter, but trust me, after finishing The Troop and The Deep, I will at some point in the future be reading Little Heaven. Both these books dive into body horror, psychological horror, and just straight up nastiness. I'm going to put up this content warning right now to save some people some time. If you enjoy horror novels, but you really struggle reading about animal cruelty in any way whatsoever, this is my warning. Do not, and I mean do not, read either of these books. The treatment of animals and the cruelty to animals in both of these books is very, very extreme. I mean, the treatment to humans is also very, very extreme, but for some reason some people find it harder to read about the cruelty to animals than the cruelty to humans. I don't know why. I think you would either be all of one or none. It's a horror novel. I don't mind the cruelty to animals and the cruelty to humans. It's horror. It's full of blood and gruesome things. I'm absolutely fine with that. It's fiction. However, I do find it odd when some people can't read about the cruelty to animals, yet they don't mind human beings being raped, stabbed and killed. I find that a little odd. I would think you would either be in one camp with everything, that you don't like humans being killed and you don't like animals being killed, or you don't mind any of it. But anyway, if you do not like animals being mistreated, then please don't read any of these books. Both of these books definitely go there when it comes to cruelty and nastiness to kind of all things. I would say that both these books definitely sit within the extreme horror side of things. However, when you read a lot of extreme horror novels, sometimes the nastiness, the gore, is there to just shock, and it sort of overtakes any kind of story or plot. However, not with both of these novels. Nick Cutter knows how to build, knows how to push the buttons of extreme body horror, yet never sacrifices some of the extreme things that are happening for the story or plot at play. It is a very good blend. So let's start things off with The Troop. Once a year, Scoutmaster Tim Riggs takes a troop of scouts into the Canadian wilderness for a weekend away. But obviously this year things are a little different as the scout troop find themselves completely isolated on this island and cut off from the outside world. As the troop struggle to survive in the wilderness, they encounter a starving stranger who looks like he is just about to die. This encounter sets off a series of terrifying events. I've been struggling a bit on whether what I'm about to say is a spoiler or not, and I've been back and I've been forth and I just don't know, but you know what? I'm just going to tell you because I actually in essence don't think it's that big of a spoiler. But the thing that the scouts are battling against on the island is a parasitic tapeworm. And these tapeworms will cause their hosts to do horrible things. So the troop find themselves in an unrelenting battle for survival against these insatiable tapeworms. Now, structurally, the novel jumps around a lot. We get a detailed backstory on each one of the scouts. We also look past the events of the island and at the authorities and how they are looking into the details and examining the events of what happened. So what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked. I loved how intense and visceral the horror elements were. Nick Cutter does not hold back when it comes to creating terrifying and gruesome scenes, making it an absolutely gripping read for horror fans. I also really liked how much it dives into the psychological aspects of fear, survival and the human condition. The characters' reactions to the horrors they are facing and their individual struggles really add depth to the story at play. The plot is filled with tension and suspense, and Cutter does an excellent job of building it all the way through. A sense of constant lingering dread. I really liked all of the characters. The novel goes to great lengths to give us detailed backstories to each of the individual scouts, but it also explores their dynamics and relationships with each other. The characters are all well developed and relatable, which makes their fates all the more compelling. And finally, Nick Cutter's writing is just solid. It is engaging and evocative. It really draws the reader into the story, making this book very hard to put down. What didn't I like? Only one thing. I think the dialogue needed a little bit more work. There were a few moments where the Boy Scouts were talking in a voice or talking with dialogue that felt like it was a little past their age range. It wasn't constant, and for the most part the characters did feel and sound the age they were, but yeah, it happened a few too many times, sort of taking me out of the reality of the story. But that's it. That is the only thing I didn't like. As far as horror novels go, this book was excellent. Really excellent, and in some moments outstanding. It does have a kind of early Stephen King vibe. I am going to give The Troop 4.5 stars out of 5. It was just disturbing and thrilling, and not the kind of book you want to read after you've just had dinner. Right, now let's talk about The Deep. A devastating memory plague has swept the earth, forcing people to forget themselves and the people around them, their memories. They also start to get covered in these horrible, horrible scabs. And humanity's last hope lies deep beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. We follow veterinarian Luke Nelson, who has been sent to a high-tech research station deep, deep, deep into the ocean. Luke's brother Clayton, a scientist and a genius, is working on something at the research centre that may save humanity. However, no one has heard from Clayton in many, many weeks, except for one correspondence, a voice message that asks for them to find his brother. And of course, if it means helping humanity, Luke is more than happy to come and help. Clayton and his team have been working on experimental research to do with something that is lying at the bottom of the ocean that is slowly rising up. But they are not alone. A mysterious and deadly infection seems to be spreading amongst the researcher, turning them into something more monstrous than what they've been researching. As the pressure increases and the sanity of the scientists diminishes, they must face not only the horrors of the deep, but also the darkness within themselves. I have heard this book described as James Cameron's The Abyss mixed with The Thing. And yeah, that is bang on. The novel is structurally straightforward. We follow Luke, he is ignorant of everything, and he slowly starts to come to terms with what is happening at the station and what his brother has been working on. However, we spend a lot of time in Luke's memories. Memories of his ex-wife, of his child, memories of his abusive mother. Luke has suffered a lot of trauma in the past. And the trauma inflicted by his mother and the events that have happened throughout his life appear to be manifesting in the deep. So what did I like? I really love the setting. Nick Cutter absolutely nails the claustrophobia of where we are. The pacing is great with an excellent build taking place all the way through. Much like The Troop, that sense of dread is just beautifully layered into every page. Our protagonist is excellent and extremely well-rounded, anchoring the novel nicely. Again, much like The Troop, we have expertly crafted horror and scenes of horror all the way through. I like how the novel is exploring grief, guilt, and the darkness of the human psyche. It's not just a horror story, but a deeper exploration of human emotions and behaviour under extreme circumstances. And again, the last thing I liked is that Nick Cutter's writing is just solid all the way through. What didn't I like? For me, the major plot beats are a little predictable. At the start, I had an idea of where I thought this novel might go, and actually, with all those major plot beats, I wasn't that far off. With that being said, even though the major plot beats are somewhat predictable, it's in the details of everything else where this book is very unpredictable. So it was able to keep an old trope quite fresh while still sticking to the horror conventions. And the final thing I didn't like, or should I say what I wanted a little bit more of, was that some of the side characters could have been fleshed out a little bit more. We spend a lot of time in Luke's memories. Memories of his ex-wife, memories of his child, the things that happened to them, memories of how he was treated by his mother. And we do spend time in the backstories of some of the side characters. We get diary entries. There's a nice rich kind of structural layering going on with all of the side characters. However, I did feel like I wanted just a bit more from some of those side characters. Just a bit more into what led them to be where they are right now. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like if that was fleshed out, I would have liked this book even more. And I actually don't think if we had had a bit more from the secondary characters, it would have affected the pacing at all, because Nick Cutter is just so good at blending the horror in with the backstories. Everything within the book feels like it is building towards something. I just think we could have had more, and it wouldn't have mattered. Nick Cutter is just so good at what he does, he would have made it work. Overall, this is another excellent, and I mean excellent, horror novel from Nick Cutter. It is really pushing the body horror, the creativity of what happens, how psychologically it gets in your head and starts to affect you, the claustrophobia of the location. There are so many ticks here. This one, also like The Troop, really got under my skin. I'm going to give this one just 0.5 less than The Troop, because I felt like The Troop handled the backstory and the layering of the characters a bit more evenly. But yeah, this is still an excellent horror novel, and I'm giving The Troop 4 stars out of 5. I'm actually probably being a bit mean for giving The Troop 4.5 stars and The Deep 4 stars. I think you could give both of these books 5 stars, and that is absolutely justified. They are excellent, excellent horror novels. I don't think they are going to convert anyone who doesn't like horror into enjoying horror. However, if you read a lot of horror, they are so, so good. If you enjoy horror, you are going to enjoy these. So yeah, you could give both of these 5 stars, and I wouldn't disagree. I'm just being a little bit critical. But yeah, I mean, they are without a doubt. Now, I haven't read a lot of horror this year, but they are the best horror novels I've read this year. If you like gruesome body horror with great pacing and great character development, then either one of these books is going to scratch your horror itch. So, have you read either one of these books? And if so, what did you think about them? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Please let me know in the comments below. And as always, I hope you're well. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.